at SenseTime or DGI or Animoca brands, and the list really goes on. But hence, that is really the first point why I generally feel very special coming to India and to Bangalore, but this time even more so. The second point was really coming and deciding to go to ISF was the focus area of the conference. And I'll just name the three because they don't need any explanation. There is no explanation needed to state why these have been three focus areas. The youth, the sustainability and the focus really of rural India, and the diversity and inclusion. And I'm thrilled that later on there will be a roundtable, particularly also on gender diversity and gender inclusion and women in tech. And last but not least, of course, it's always the wonderful opportunity to get down to business and to deepen our connection and our collaboration, to meeting old friends, meeting new friends. And I think J.A. Garu gave a wonderful testimony of the importance of tech conferences and highlighting on the beauty of what he and his team achieved with ISF, how important it is to have these conferences. So we have our own little conference, which is Hong Kong FinTech Week, which is the premier flagship financial services and tech conference in the region, taking place in November. And I was thinking, why should only J.A. Garu set out challenges? Let me also set out a challenge back to J.A. Garu and ask him if he would accept that we have ISF at Hong Kong FinTech Week in November this year. And I wanted to make a first gesture and let you know that when we were looking into hosting the semi-final for India of our global scale-up competition that is part of Hong Kong FinTech Week, we didn't look for a very long time. We love to associate ourselves in these semi-finals with established conferences. Just came back from Toronto where it was a satellite event to Collision, which is one of the major tech conferences globally organized by the Web Summit. And knowing J.A. Garu and knowing his team and his passion and purpose, we said, well, for India, it cannot be any other conference than ISF and J.A. Garu's team. So I'm really thrilled that tomorrow, and for everybody who is still here, I'll cordially invite you to take part of the semifinals for India for the Global Scale-Up competition and to help encourage to select the winner, because the winner will be flying into Hong Kong FinTech Week and pitch there on a global stage to maybe, hopefully, get the first prize for India. So thank you very much, and again, thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Ms. Karina Bellin. We would now like to extend our gratitude to Ms. Bellin. Our next guest speaker has joined us all the way from Japan, Dr. Kazuhiro Chiba, a learned academician with a doctorate in agriculture. He serves as the president of the Tokyo University of Agriculture and Technology. Dr. Chiba, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kazuhiro Chiba. First of all, I would like to congratulate the great success of Startup Festival. I came here from Japan for the innovative challenge in the field of agriculture. As you may know, presently, agriculture gives a pretty much burden on the earth. I hear most of, around 25% of greenhouse gas is emitted directly from the agriculture. We should change the sense of value and the viewpoint for the sustainability for the food, health, and happy life. I'd like to introduce a very old activity of Japan. I hear about 70 years ago, Japan tried to make up a very nice electric instrument like a refrigerator, automatic washers and air conditioners, and automobiles. It was a very nice one, I hear, but it was so expensive. So even many people hope to buy that nice electric instrument, but mostly they couldn't buy. But very new system was worked. It was a loan system. So everyone get a very nice refrigerator before paying, and they honestly pay back every month. By introducing the loan system, I hear Japanese innovation in the past succeeded. I think this is a very important point. Most important one is not just the technology, but honestly, ethically, if we get some important one, we should pay back, even it took a very long time. I think that kind of cultural spirit can share with India, because basically the way of thinking, sense of value came from India, I think. I think from now on, for the future, we can share the very important concept for the next generation's innovation. I'm very happy to start the new era in India and for global world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chiba. Our next speaker is Mr. Barry Rudolph, an experienced executive in the IT and service industry. A strong entrepreneurial professional, Mr. Rudolph has held several senior positions at IBM and is currently the independent director of Falcon Store Software. Mr. Rudolph, please.
Well, I hope all of you understand how incredibly special this is. I mean, this is quite a unique experience and quite a unique opportunity. You know, no matter how much experience you have in larger corporations, general management, et cetera, I can speak from experience that when you become a CEO of a startup, it's kind of a lonely place. You get a lot of advice, but that advice is sometimes inherently biased. For some reason, you know, your financiers, the financial teams that are financing you want return. What is incredible about this is there's this strong desire to just help, to actually help people become successful that otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity, kind of with a singular motivation of moving society along, creating opportunity, and growing. And that is unique, maybe in the world. So you should all feel very special to be involved in this. It is exciting, it is inspirational, and it is incredibly powerful. So I hope that it expands worldwide, because this kind of behavior that's represented by this amazing location and the culture, et cetera, can be an incredibly powerful tool to move society along. It's a real privilege to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barry Rudolph. We would now like to extend a token of our love and gratitude to Mr. Rudolph.
We now invite Mr. Arvind Kumar, Director General, Software Technology Parks of India, to address all of us. A policy, management, and regulatory specialist, Mr. Arvind Kumar focuses on software product clusters in the country by enabling the startup ecosystem in the country. Mr. Arvind Kumar, please.
Thank you. Good morning to all. Param Siddhe, Honorable Peethasin Swamiji, Chaudhary sir, other dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries in the room, ladies and gentlemen, it's really proud privilege to be part of this very festival. When people are talking about rural India, startup, in fact, first time I was able to connect spirituality to startup. I have done some work on how to connect science with the spirituality, but first time I was able to connect spirituality with the startup. It gives really honor to me when person like Chaudhary sir, his introduction is limited to, I am founder, director of STPI. This is a great honor for me that I am head of the organization. That organization itself is an introduction for the person like Chaudhary sir. As everybody says, successful people don't do the different things. They do the same thing differently. I think this is very much true for Chaudhary sir. When he was in a government, he was working like a private company. It is in time that you used to get license in a single day within 24 hours. So this is this kind of the thing he has, this kind of the standard he has made for the STPI. And today when I meet anybody, any tech veteran, any founder of big companies, of billion companies, they say, whatever today I am because of STPI. That is because I am people like J. Chaudhary sir. This is his vision, this is his passion, this is his commitment. Today this country is doing well in software services. We have under $250 billion US revenue of software services. Out of that, $200 billion US is from the export itself. This digital India or technology enablement actually has leveled between poor and urban, poor and rich, rural and urban. Today, even a rich person is paying from the UPI. Same is being done in any rural areas by any poor person. So technology enablement, which came through Digital India program of Government of India, has already done labeling, which is required to be done since long back. Now we are living in a very interesting and exciting area, exciting time, where everything is with the technology. Objective of this trust is also to change the lives. I think this work is also being done by the technology. And the technology and the trust like this work together, we can accelerate so-called how to change the life of the people. This can be very well accelerated in this country. Now, since it's a technological era, there is a rapid shifts. There is a differentiated growth opportunity. These have become now the new norms for the world and especially for our country. And I'm telling you, Government of India also has a lot of focus for tier 2, tier 3 cities. And when we conduct any open challenge program to participate from participation from the rural areas, from the remote areas. 40 to 50% new youngsters, innovators are coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities. 50% are coming from women entrepreneurs. So that there is already a change from, because wisdom not only limited to cities, wisdom is not limited to man, wisdom is not limited to urban areas. Wisdom could be anywhere. It could be in rural areas, it could be in kids, it could be in women, it could be anywhere. And then startup is nothing but about your ideas, about your innovation, anybody can do it. At STPI also, though we have 63 centers across the country, 54 centers are in tier 2, tier 3 cities. To take care of innovators, startups of those areas. We are not only working in deep technologies, we have the Center for Entrepreneurship across the country. We have already created 22 Center for Entrepreneurship across the country, which is not only in the deep technology, but those are also working in agri-tech. We have one Center for Entrepreneurship at agri-tech at Akola in Maharashtra. We have also Center for Entrepreneurship on health technology, is MedTech at Lucknow. We are also going to create one more Center for Entrepreneurship for assistive technology. We are already in discussion with ITBHU to create one exclusive Center for Entrepreneurship, which could be good for disabled people, for differently abled people, can work in the assistive technologies. So STPI has already focused, Government of India has already have the focus to create entrepreneurship from rural areas, from tier 2, tier 3 cities. We also have one scheme which is called Next Generation Incubation Scheme, which is especially exclusively meant for tier 2, tier 3 cities, where we provide a seed fund of 25 lakh rupees to each startup, and then follow-up fund of 25 lakh rupees again to each startup. What is actually required, especially for rural areas, we have a lot of talent in this country. There is no dearth of talent in this country. We have good talent pool. What is actually required is perhaps reskilling, upskilling of that very talent pool. They may be very good in their subjects, but what is today required to create new startup, to create new innovations? That is what is required. And that talent pool, I think we can all work together. We can ask them. We can become like you see, like in Ramcharitmanas, Jambant says from Hanuman, "Kaun so kaaj kathin jag mahi." So we all have to work like a Jambant. We have to tell our youngsters, yes, you are Hanuman, you can do it. So Ramchar Sundarkand says, "Kaun so kaaj kathin jag mahi, jo na ho tat tum pahi." Yahi hai bas. This is what the spirit is required. We all are experienced. We have done what we wanted to in our life. Now what is required? We have to motivate our youngsters. We have to motivate. We have to mentor them. We have to tell, you have the energy, you have the power, you can do it. That is what is required. With this, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you, sir. May we now invite our next speaker for this morning, Mr. Shri Atluri, Managing Director, Global Head of Enterprise Quality Engineering, BNY Mellon. He has earlier held leadership roles at the New York Stock Exchange, JP Morgan Chase & Co., Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, BNP Paribas, and Morgan Stanley. He's a globally recognized authority in change management, quality management, and compliance in the BFSI sector. Mr. Shri Atluri, please.
Namaste, Sadhguru. And J.A. Chaudhary Garu, and dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. And I'm humbled and honored to be able to speak and share some of the thoughts with all of you. And it would not have been possible to be here. I actually booked my ticket and canceled. And my wife insisted that I should be here. And in fact, I should support J.A. Chaudhary Garu because he is taking this as Yagnam, that's what he calls. And in this particular Yagnam, I wanted to be means to support in whatever way I can. And what you saw in J.A. Garu and the way he spoke is his simplicity and the way he pulled everyone who supported him throughout the journey. That shows his passion and also recognizing the right talent. And we keep on hearing about rural India, startup, and the startup ecosystem, and the way he took that to his heart. While he was on the bed, I know he was thinking about it. He was spending countless number of hours with all of us discussing about how to make this festival successful. That thought itself and the way he pulled it through shows the level of enthusiasm, the level of commitment that he has, and his love for India, and his love for rural India. And in fact, when you talk about startups, there is a bit of everyone have a startup when they start something that they are passionate about. I was telling yesterday that it's a kind of itch. I want to do something. But without the right mentorship, without the right backing, and providing the right kind of connectivity, you are lost. And that support structure is able to help guide throughout the journey, which I think is fantastic. And also my thoughts from yesterday. Sadhguruji, I saw free nutrition, free health, free education is something that I have seen throughout. And the way you're doing what you're doing is amazing. And it's not something that's possible without the support of greatness and the higher power that you alluded to yesterday. That is something that drives all of us, and without which I don't think it is possible. And also, I always talk to our people to have the killer instinct in doing what we do. That killer instinct is nothing but Sankalpa Siddhi. That once you have your mind set to do anything, you can do anything. And I think it is not the time that matters, the vision and the way you want to do what you want to do is possible, quite possible, because of people, like-minded people, like all of you, are coming together. I humbly honor to lead whatever you need, J.A. Garu, in the United States to make it a grand success, the International Startup Festival next year. Thank you very much, and it is my honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atluri. We take this opportunity to extend our gratitude to three of our wonderful speakers this morning. First, to Dr. Chiba. Mr. Arvind Kumar. and Mr. Sri Atluri. The India Startup Festival has been a wonderful platform for brilliant minds to come together to benefit from each other's strengths and thereby further the cause of societal building through collaborative partnerships. This morning, we will have a series of exchanges of memorandums of understandings. Our first MOU is between the India Startup Festival and AIC STPI Next, a nodal agency of the Software Tech Park of India. We first request Mr. Arvind Kumar and Mr. J. Chaudhary Garu to please come forward for the MOU exchange. This MOU endeavors to transform the country. This MOU endeavors to transform the country into a software product nation to build synergy to support the initiatives and innovators of both the parties.
Our next MOU is between the India Startup Festival and the London Chamber of Commerce and Industry, London's key hub for the business community. May we please invite Ms. Marta Kozlowska, Head of International London Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to come on to the dais, please, for the exchange. This partnership aims to support the creation of a collaborative ecosystem for startup development in India and the United Kingdom.
For our next MOU, may we please invite Mr. Gary Seaton and Mr. Gauri Shankar from Energreen Nutrition Australia, and Dr. Lakshmi Prasad and Mr. Tarun from BioWe India onto the dais for the MOU exchange. This collaboration will facilitate research and development on biofuel and sustainable aviation fuel from the plant Pongamia pinnata. Our final MOU for this morning is a tripartite collaboration between Energreen, represented by Mr. Gary Seaton, Sujay Biotech, represented by Dr. Lakshmi Prasad, and the Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. May we invite Dr. Srikant Murthy, Vice Chancellor of the University, onto the dais. This MOU will work towards establishing a center for excellence in agriculture, farming, and related areas.
Thank you, gentlemen. On behalf of all of us, may we invite and pray to Sadhguru Sri Madhusudan Sai to deliver his inaugural address.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखम् आप्नुयात्. This Indian prayer means, let everybody be happy, may everybody be healthy, may no one have any sorrow, may everybody see good and auspicious everywhere. Today on this very privileged dais, which is being honored by the best of the people from around the world who have made a mark for themselves and for their communities and the country, I am very honored to host this conference in our ashram, in our place, Sathya Sai Grama, on behalf of Jay Garu's baby, his vision of India Startup Festival. And I'm very glad to see the kind of traction that is happening over here. And the latest update, the breaking news is that Jay Garu tells me to tell you all that 150 term sheets have been signed. It's not 125 anymore. What has spirituality or a spiritual ashram like this got to do with startups in India? And that's the question I'm sure most of you must be asking yourselves. To us, spirituality is not some secluded activity to be done in solitude or in silence. Spirituality is the way of life for Indians. Spirituality is an attitude with which we do everything, ordinary or extraordinary. And this attitude is that of selfless good for all. So to me, spirituality in one word is doing selfless good to all. And that is why this place is important for any activity, including a startup festival. Because while startup festivals try to do good mostly for themselves, or at best to some customers who can pay for it, spiritual startups should do good for all, whether they are able to pay for it or not able to pay for it. That should not be the deciding factor. And that is why spiritual places are important. If I take you back a few centuries ago when India was at the peak of its glory, spiritual glory, generally the places of worship, like temples, were the nerve centers for all socio-cultural and economic activities. And you heard it right, economic activities too, not just socio-cultural. They were the nerve centers where markets used to happen, where people will bring their produces from their villages and sell it in a place which was the place of worship or the temple. Even if you go a few meters away to Nandi village, where we have Boganandishwara temple, you will see there is this main temple, and there are many enclosures all around the temple, probably 50, 60 of them. They all look like small shops. But that was the place where people would bring all that they produced in their own local areas and market it there. So in a way, that was a startup festival that was happening in every temple of our country, where people would bring their products, services, and market it, exchange it. And that time there was barter system, not the financial currency that we use right now, marketable instruments. But they were people who appreciated each other's produces, each other's talents, each other's creativity. Because they did not weigh it in dollar terms, but they weighed in terms of the effort that went behind it. The creativity, the innovation, and the solution that each of them provided for each other. A potter could sell his pot or exchange his pot in a barter system with a weaver who would give him clothes in return. A producer of rice might be able to barter his rice with a goldsmith who might be able to give him some ornament in return. Everybody had this system of exchange where each respected everybody's talent and culture. With the passage of time, as modernization of finance has happened, marketable instruments came into picture, what we know as all tradable instruments, including currencies. The entire scenario changed, where banks became more important than these places of worship, where everything started getting monetized, and unless there was a monetary value based on demand and supply, nobody got respect for their craftsmanship. That is where the culture of the country started deteriorating, and people started losing respect for all kinds of forms of art, culture, or tradesmanship. This particular idea of having a startup festival in this place is not merely to show the monetary value behind your efforts, but it is also to create a sense of respect and responsibility in each one of you for each other. That's Indian ethos, that is the Indian Arthashastra, that is Indian Arthaniti, what we call as the economics of India, where everybody respected everybody else's trade. And because it was not having a common currency, but it was dependent on the need of people. And I think that is the kind of culture we must bring in when we start building companies. The Indian ethos of respecting each other's craftsmanship, respecting each other's value systems, respecting each other's talent and culture. Unless that happens, we will be chasing money endlessly, and that is not going to lead to societal welfare and prospect. Take the example of COVID. We did not know how to manufacture a vaccine for COVID because we did not know such a thing ever was needed by us. But we knew how to produce vaccines. We just did not produce vaccine for our country, we produced it for the whole world. More than 100 countries benefited with this Vaccine Maitri program of the government, and so many countries which were incapable of even paying for it, let alone producing it. They did not even have wherewithals of paying for it. India stood up and said, we will give you as a friend to you because we are interested in your welfare. That's the kind of trade and business that India stood for. When somebody needed it badly, we went out of our way to reach it out to them without financial considerations. I'm sure most of the countries could not have paid it back. It was a friendship, it was a friendly gesture. But what did it do for India? It created a tremendous amount of goodwill, new relationships, new trust with Indian businessmen, with Indian ecosystems. Now, somewhere businesses have to think beyond their profits and think of building a value for all in the society, and more importantly, build that element of trust in the society. Most of the companies are not trusted by the consumers because they somehow know that there is huge amount of profit making, which is the background, which is the underlying principle why these companies are running. I take for example, go to an insurer. And how many of you will just blindly buy an insurance? You all know insurance is another mechanism of kind of making money. Not every insurance company is doing an honest job. We have a lot of people who have medical insurance, they go and claim. The claims are denied, delayed, because the motive of the insurance company is to make profits and not to actually reimburse claims. If they start doing that, it's not going to work out for them as a profitable venture. So certain ventures in the society cannot be profit-oriented. They have to be for the societal good. I'm not saying they should not make even recover their costs. Maybe they can. But some of you have to think of startups that are not just for earning profits, but that are there for solving social problems. Recover the cost. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. You have to make the two ends meet. But some of you have to think differently. I think coming to Muddenahalli, a place like this, should inspire some of you to develop startups, to develop new companies which are not simply for profits, but also for a great cause of social good. And that will bring a lot of goodwill to you. I'm sure on that you will build better companies, bigger companies in the future. I also requested our Jay Garu to start a foundation under India Startup Festival. Generally, a startup festival is a marketplace, you know. Everybody comes for a purpose. They all have their agenda. And once it is served, they're happy. They get an investor. Investor gets an idea. And both of them are happy. They go home. And hopefully, in the future, this relationship flourishes. And they make money for each other. And they're happy. That is the kind of startup festivals that are generally celebrated around the world. But I told Jay Garu, we have to be different. We are doing it out of Muddenahalli. As I said, the temple-like marketplace, where there is a purpose, there is a vision. So please encourage these startups which are at least getting their funding and financing or mentorship over here to keep aside a little bit of their company for the sake of social good. It's not the call of duty, I know. It is not something that is mandated. It is not something that will be forced upon you. It is not something that if you do not do, you will be penalized for. But it is something that I request all the investors and the companies to think about, keep aside a little bit of whatever you have so that that can be used for a societal good. So I told Jay Garu, why don't you start a foundation in the India Startup Festival? Let this foundation accept such kind of sharing from those companies and investors who have benefited from this platform. Let that foundation go and do more social good, make social impact investments where profitability or return on investment may not be the biggest criteria, but the kind of social change that it brings about, the transformation that it brings about should be the criteria of its success. So I hope some of you will take this free advice and probably make models of social entrepreneurship which will make a difference to the life of those at the bottom of the pyramid. Agri-tech, as we talked about, agriculture is the source of sustenance for half of India. And our children who come from rural areas, their parents are agriculturists, farmers, and they have their own challenges. Climate is an issue now. With all that which is being done by the industry and the economy at the higher, at the top of the pyramid, it's affecting the bottom of the pyramid in terms of the climate changes. The timeliness of rains is now a question mark. So many times farmers are losing money on their crops because of weather pattern changes. Now somebody on the top of the pyramid has started causing this trouble at the bottom of the pyramid. So if you have created the mess, it's your duty to also mop it up and don't leave it there for the poorer people to suffer with. So climate technologies, agricultural technologies, sustainable technologies is something that we all have to invest in. Again, as I say, it may not be as simple or easy as a software technology, which is a very profitable venture. But this is something that creates impact at the bottom of the pyramid. And I think somewhere each one of us is responsible. We all eat food, right? We don't eat softwares and algorithms for our survival. We all need to eat food. And that is produced by that bottom of the pyramid. And they need to be supported and protected. And to me, I think that is one area that we all have to pay attention to. We are much privileged compared to them. We have an education from mostly premier institutions. We had opportunities to make it big. I'm talking about the investors. And the others, the innovators, they're taking new opportunities to make it big for themselves. But while we're doing all these things, let us always be mindful of those who are working for us, who are benefiting us indirectly. And they are the ones who should not be left behind in this whole race to grow and prosper. And for their sake, our organization works. I'm not saying you set up your shops, every one of you cannot do it. But some of you, even 10% of you think that way, that I must go and affect a change at the bottom of the pyramid. I'm sure it will do a lot good, not just to this country, but to the entire world. And with more startup festival chapters coming up, as we just heard, in the US, in UK, in Europe, in Middle East, and now I requested even Professor Chiba, why not in Japan? And he said, yes, why not? So the idea is that Hong Kong, of course, Hong Kong. So we are getting a chapter of ISF everywhere, but everywhere I want ISF to carry its ethos. Ethos is selfless good of all. Not just making a company unicorn, not just making somebody prosperous, not just filling the pockets of the investors. All that should happen, but the greater idea of selfless good of all should be included in the agenda of ISF anywhere, and that's what will differentiate us from all other startup festivals that happen around the world, which are generally driven by greed, but this should be driven by the need at the bottom of the pyramid, and that should be the watchword, need-based startups. And that will change the entire paradigm. I'm very glad that all of you have come here. It was J.A. Garu's, despite his certain challenges with his health, he never gave up this idea that he has to make this vision happen. I think that is a lesson that all the entrepreneurs should learn from him. Come what may. He stuck to this idea despite his challenges. He never gave it up. And I told him, I think you should relax and rest a bit. He said, Swamiji, I cannot think of anything other than ISF. And I live, breathe, eat, talk, sleep, only ISF. That is the kind of dedication one needs to bring up a company. And he is doing not for any other reason. He himself told many times, Swamiji, I want to support what you are doing. In fact, he started with this idea that I want to bring companies, CEOs, CFOs, CXOs, policymakers, change makers, to expose them to an idea of yours that certain things in society must be provided to all, like education, nutrition, healthcare, without any financial considerations. But to support a cause which is as noble as this, definitely there are resources, there are people needed, and that is his idea to bridge the two, the charity with business, and bring the people from around the world to expose them and sensitize them to the idea of the need at the bottom of the pyramid. I'm very glad that he has kept next 5 years' agenda as innovations at the bottom of the pyramid for the agricultural, rural economies. I think that is a very noble cause. You will have to have patience for it. Investors have to have patience in this game. Entrepreneurs will also have to have the patience, like the farmers who sow the seed. Look at their patience. They wait for everything to happen. They wait for the harvest to come. They cannot keep digging every now and then to check whether the seed is sprouting or germinating. Then they will destroy the crop. Likewise, when you invest in rural India, when you invest in an agri startup or at the bottom of the pyramid, patience is the most important virtue that you must have. You can't compare it with an IT company in the urban setup, which quickly starts, recovering its cost and start making profit, breaks even quite early. These break-evens will happen at a long, long time, but whatever happens will do an irreversible positive change in the society at large. And for that sake, I think some of us will have to dedicate our time and energy. So to all the investors, to the entrepreneurs, and all the volunteers who have worked so hard to make this festival happen, a lot of blessings and best wishes. Again and again, I tell this is a very pure and sacred land. Anything that is thought of here in a pure and sacred way definitely succeeds. So I'm very sure that this startup festival will lead to a lot more success for all of you. But when we are succeeding, let us not forget to look behind and take care of those who did not get the same privilege and opportunity as us. So we work for that pyramid, that bottom of the pyramid, and I'm sure this will become an ideal startup festival for times to come. I thank all of you, Jay Garu, the university staff, and everyone else who is a part of this mission. May you all succeed. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkham apnuyat. Namaste.
Our gratitude to Sadhguru. With this, we conclude the inaugural session. We will now have a networking break of 10 minutes before we reconvene for the keynote addresses of this morning. Thank you, everyone.